Arjun sat at his small wooden desk, a single bulb flickering above him. The light barely illuminated the pages of his notebook, but he kept writing. The night was quiet, except for the hum of crickets outside and the ticking of the clock on the wall, each second echoing like a reminder of how little time he had left before the biggest exam of his life. He was 19, the son of a bus driver from a small Indian town called Gopalpur. His father, Ramesh, drove a dusty red bus on the same route for 20 years, earning just enough to keep food on the table. His mother worked part-time at a tailor shop. Arjun knew one thing for certain. His parents had sacrificed everything to send him to a decent school. But now, everything rested on one exam, the engineering entrance test, a gateway to India's top universities. Every student in town dreamed of clearing it, but only a handful ever did. The rest went back to working in their father's shops, farms, or garages. Arjun wanted to be different. He wanted to make something of himself. Still, doubt haunted him. He looked down at the question paper from last year's test. The equations looked alien, the concepts too advanced. "I can't do this," he muttered under his breath. His mother entered the room quietly, holding a glass of warm milk. "Arjun, you need to rest," she said softly. "You've been studying since morning." "I can't, Ma. There's too much to cover." She placed the glass beside him. "You've been saying that for months. You'll be fine, Beta. You always are." Arjun looked at her tired eyes, the lines that had deepened over the years of stitching clothes until midnight. "What if I fail?" he whispered. She smiled faintly. "Then you'll try again. Failing doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means your story isn't finished yet." But her words did little to calm him. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw other students, those from wealthy families, studying in coaching institutes, using expensive laptops, and attending mock tests. He, on the other hand, studied from second-hand books and borrowed notes. When he finally fell asleep, his dreams were filled with numbers, equations, and the sound of failure. The next morning, Arjun woke up before dawn. He walked to the bus station to help his father before school. As they cleaned the bus together, Ramesh looked at him proudly. "You know, when I was your age, I wanted to study too, but life had other plans. You have that chance. Don't waste it." "I'm trying, Papa," Arjun replied. His father patted his back. "That's all I ask." Every day, Arjun followed the same routine: morning chores, school, tuition, and late-night study sessions. His friends stopped calling him out to play cricket. His life became a loop of books, anxiety, and self-doubt. One evening, while walking home from tuition, he overheard two boys talking. They were from wealthy families, the kind who had private tutors and the latest gadgets. "Bro, there's no way a government school kid like Arjun can crack this exam," one laughed. "He's not even in our league." Arjun's steps slowed. The words hit harder than any slap. For the rest of the walk, he replayed them in his mind. "Not in our league." That night, he didn't study. He just stared at the ceiling, his chest heavy with the weight of their words. Maybe they were right. Maybe some dreams were too big for people like him.
The next day, his teacher, Mr. Iqbal, noticed Arjun sitting quietly in the back of the classroom, lost in thought. "Arjun, come see me after class," the teacher said. When the room emptied, Mr. Iqbal closed his notebook and looked at him. "You've been off lately. What's going on?" Arjun hesitated, then confessed. "Sir, I don't think I can pass the entrance exam. Everyone says it's too hard for students like me." Mr. Iqbal smiled gently. "Let me tell you something. When I was in college, I failed my first 3 exams. People said I wasn't smart enough to be a teacher. But you know what I learned? What, sir? That belief is more powerful than talent. Those who believe in themselves eventually prove everyone wrong. He leaned forward. Arjun, you don't need fancy books or coaching classes. You need conviction. If you can't find it outside, build it inside. Something in those words struck him deeply. That night, Arjun opened his notebook again. He didn't just study, he fought. Every page became a battlefield between fear and belief. He solved one problem, then another. Slowly, he began to understand what had once felt impossible. Weeks passed, and his confidence grew, not because the exam got easier, but because he stopped giving up. The morning of the exam arrived with a strange calm. Arjun wore his cleanest shirt and carried his admit card like a ticket to a new life. His parents stood at the door. His mother handed him a small tiffin. "Eat after the test," she said, smiling. His father placed his hand on Arjun's shoulder. "Whatever happens today, we're proud of you." The exam center was crowded. Hundreds of students, parents waiting outside, buses lined up, and anxiety in the air. Arjun took a deep breath before entering the hall. When the paper was placed on his desk, his hands trembled. For the first few minutes, he froze. The questions looked unfamiliar. His heart pounded. Then he heard Mr. Iqbal's words echoing in his mind. Belief is more powerful than talent. He closed his eyes, took another deep breath, and began to write. One question at a time. One step at a time. By the end of 3 hours, Arjun had filled every page. He wasn't sure if he had done well, but he had given everything he had. When he walked out of the hall, sunlight hit his face, and for the first time in months, he felt light. Not because the exam was over, but because fear was gone. The days that followed were torture. Every conversation at school revolved around results, predictions, and expectations. Some students bragged about how easy the test was. Others already started planning for coaching next year. Arjun avoided them all. He spent his evenings helping his father at the bus stand, his mornings helping his mother with errands. But every time he saw a newspaper or heard the word result, his stomach twisted. Finally, one morning, the results were out. He didn't check them himself. His internet connection was too slow and his hands were shaking. Instead, his friend Ravi came running through the neighborhood, waving his phone. "Arjun! Arjun!" he shouted, breathless. "You did it!" "What?" Arjun's voice cracked. "You got into the top government college with a scholarship!" For a moment, Arjun thought he was dreaming. His legs went weak, and he had to sit down on the steps outside his house. His mother came out, alarmed. When she heard the news, her eyes filled with tears. His father came home later, covered in dust from the road, and when he heard, he dropped his bag and hugged Arjun tight. "You did it, son. You really did it." That night, their small house was filled with laughter for the first time in years. They cooked Arjun's favorite meal, dal, rice, and fried potatoes, and shared stories late into the night.
College was a new world. For the first few weeks, Arjun felt lost among students who spoke fluent English and carried expensive laptops. But he remembered where he came from. Every time he felt small, he reminded himself, "I've already beaten worse odds." He joined study groups, helped others with math, and soon became known as one of the most hard-working students on campus. Teachers noticed his curiosity and discipline. During his final year, Arjun was selected for an internship at a major engineering firm. When he walked into that office on his first day, wearing a crisp shirt, carrying his ID card, he couldn't stop smiling. He remembered his father's hands, rough from years of driving, and his mother's tired eyes. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every doubt had led to this. Years later, Arjun returned to Gopalpur. not as a student, but as a successful engineer. The same dusty roads, the same school, but he was different now. Mr. Iqbal was still teaching. When Arjun visited him, the old man smiled. "So, my most stubborn student finally made it." Arjun laughed. "You were right, sir. Belief is everything." He spent the day visiting his old classroom, talking to students. They looked at him with awe, some recognizing his name from the local newspaper article that called him the boy who beat the odds. He told them his story, not to boast, but to remind them that greatness doesn't belong only to the rich or privileged. It belongs to those who believe when no one else does. Before leaving, he placed a small envelope on Mr. Iqbal's desk. Inside was a letter and a donation, enough to fund a scholarship for underprivileged students. The letter read, "For every student who thinks they aren't good enough, remember you don't need the world to believe in you. You just need to believe in yourself once, completely, and without doubt, because that one belief can change everything." Years passed, but Arjun's story spread across Gopalpur like legend. Parents told their children about the boy who studied under a broken light bulb and made it big. His scholarship helped dozens of students follow in his footsteps. One day, a young girl named Mira from a nearby village received that scholarship. In her thank you note, she wrote, "I don't know who Arjun Sor is, but his story made me believe that maybe I can do it too." When Arjun read that letter, sitting in his city apartment overlooking the skyline, he smiled. He realized that his journey wasn't just about passing an exam. It was about passing on belief. Moral of the story: the exam that changed Arjun's life wasn't only the one he wrote on paper. It was the one he fought within himself. The test of self-belief. Because when you stop doubting your worth, every impossible question becomes solvable. Not just in exams, but in life itself.